Welcome to Jersey Reads the Classics, an audiobook podcast delving into the finest works of our literary masters. Unfortunately, it's read by this woman.
What the hell? Who cares? Let's go on an adventure.
Hello, and welcome back to Jersey Reads the Classics with me, your host, Rosie DeCandia. I appreciate you joining me again. So, before we proceed to chapter 3, just a gentle reminder, maybe not so gentle. I don't do the previous chapter recaps here. That's on the podcast. This is the vlogcast, and I just go right into the chapter because at this point, I want you to watch the previous video. And don't you want to hear me read the freaking chapter? Read along. That's the point, okay? Entertainment, but you're also getting some classics. All right, let's just go to the third chapter. So, let us go into chapter 3 of Alice's Adventures in Wonderland by Lewis Carroll. Okay. Chapter 3, A Circus Race and a Long Tail. They were indeed a queer-looking party that assembled on the bank. The birds with draggled feathers, the animals with their fur clinging close to them, and all dripping wet, cross, and uncomfortable. The first question, of course, was how to get dry again. They had a consultation about this, and after a few minutes, it seemed quite natural to Alice to find herself talking familiarly with them, as if she had known them her whole life. Indeed, she had quite a long argument with the Lorry, who at last turned sulky and would only say, "I am older than you and must know better." And this Alice would not allow without knowing how old it was, and as the Lorry positively refused to tell its age, there was no more to be said. Sidebar. I myself have no problem with telling people my age. I'm 50 years old, and it was a big milestone for me, and I love being 50. I look forward to it because what's the alternative? Hello? I mean, really. So when people say, oh, getting older, I'm like, yeah, and what's the alternative? And I think it can be fabulous at any age, whether you're 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. And you know what? Live your best life. So, yeah, some people don't like to tell their age, and that's fine too. I respect it. But I'm one of those people that's like, embrace it, okay? Like, hello, I'm just waiting for my hair to go totally silver. There's a little silver coming out. I mean, you can see it amongst the dark roots, but that's not the point. All right, back to the story at hand. At last, the mouse, who seemed to be a person of authority among them, called out, "Sit down, all of you, and listen to me. I'll soon make you dry enough." They all sat down at once, in a large ring, with the mouse in the middle. Alice kept her eyes anxiously fixed on it, for she felt sure she would catch a bad cold if she did not get dry very soon. "Ahem," said the mouse with an important air. "Are you all ready? This is the driest thing I know. Silence all around, if you please." William the Conqueror, whose cause was favored by the Pope, was soon submitted to by the English, who wanted leaders, and had been of late much accustomed to usurpation and conquest. Edwin and Morcar, the Earls of Mercia and Northumbria— "Ugh," said the Lorry with a shiver. "I beg your pardon," said the mouse, frowning, but very politely. "Did you speak?" "Not I," said the Lorry hastily. "I thought you did," said the mouse. "I proceed. Edwin and Morcar, the Earls of Mercia and Northumbria, declared for him, and even Stephen, the patriotic Archbishop of Canterbury, found it advisable." "Found what?" said the duck. "Found it," the mouse replied rather crossly. "Of course you know what it means." "I know what it means well enough when I find a thing," said the duck. "It's generally a frog or a worm. The question is, what did the Archbishop find?" The mouse did not notice this question, but hurriedly went on, because he did not know what the answer to that was. You notice that when you ask somebody a question and suddenly they like glaze over it as if they've never heard the question or the point you made that actually can rectify the situation. They just suddenly glaze over because they don't want anybody usurping their authoritative position. You notice how I used, they said usurpation, and I used it in this too. Hey, look at me. Look at me speaking English. Okay. The mouse did not notice this question, but hurriedly went on. "Found it advisable to go with Edgar Atheling to meet William and offer him the crown. William's conduct at first was moderate, but the insolence of his Normans— How are you getting on now, my dear?" it continued, turning to Alice as it spoke. "As wet as ever," said Alice in a melancholy tone. "It doesn't seem to dry me at all." "In that case," said the dodo solemnly, rising to its feet, I move that the meeting adjourn for the immediate adoption of more energetic remedies. Speak English, said the eaglet. I don't know the meaning of half those long words, and what's more, I don't believe you do either. And the eaglet bent down its head to hide a smile. Some of the other birds tittered audibly. What I was going to say, said the dodo in an offended tone, was that the best thing to get us dry would be a caucus race. What is a caucus race, said Alice. Not that she much wanted to know, but the dodo had paused as if it thought that somebody ought to speak, and no one else seemed inclined to say anything. Why, said the dodo, the best way to explain it is to do it. And as you might like to try the thing yourself some winter day, I will tell you how the dodo managed it. First, it marked out a race course in a sort of a circle. The exact shape doesn't matter, it said. And then all the party were placed along the course, here and there. There was no 1, 2, 3, and away, but they began running when they liked and left off when they liked, so that it was not easy to know when the race was over. However, when they had been running half an hour or so and were quite dry again, the dodo suddenly called out, "The race is over!" And they all crowded round it, panting and asking, "But who has won?" Kind of like our situation, right, in these political times. Don't they do those caucus things? And you're always just like, they always say who won this one, who won this night, and we just never really know until it's election time. But I don't like to talk politics. 3 things you never discuss: politics, money, and religion. So that will not be discussed here, my friends. Where was I? Oy vey. The question the dodo could not answer without a great deal of thought, and it sat for a long time with one finger pressed upon its forehead, the position in which you usually see Shakespeare in the pictures of him, while the rest waited in silence. At last the dodo said, "Everybody has won, and all must have prizes." Oh my God, that's kind of like today too. Like, in my time when we were kids and we did things, not everybody won a ribbon, okay, people? You just got first place, second, and third, and the rest of you was shit out of luck. That's how kind of life rolled. And today, it's like you get a medal for just showing up, you get a ribbon for that, and I understand that, but sometimes it's just not realistic. I think this is a topic that people have talked many times about. I myself don't have children, I have nieces and nephews, but the thing is this, you're not setting up that child for reality. Not everybody's a winner in every category, and we should always encourage children to try out for things and do their best and be all that they can be. But sometimes, you know what, we also have to know what their weaknesses are, and so do they. And then also push them to follow their strengths and their likes and all that good stuff. But let's get back to the story. But who is to give the prizes? Quite a chorus of voices asked. Why, she, of course, said the dodo, pointing to Alice with one finger, and the whole party at once crowded round her, calling out in a confused way, "Prizes, prizes!" Alice had no idea what to do, and in despair, she put her hands in her pocket and pulled out a box of comfits. Luckily, the salt water had not got into it, and handed them round as prizes. There was exactly 1 apiece all round. "But she must have a prize herself, you know," said the mouse. "Of course," the dodo replied very gravely. "What else have you got in your pocket?" he went on, turning to Alice. "Only a thimble," said Alice sadly. "Hand it over here," said the dodo. Why would she have a thimble in her pocket? It's kind of interesting. She has comfits and then she has a thimble. But these are questions I don't think we'll ever know the answers to. Then they all crowded round her once more, while the dodo solemnly presented the thimble, saying, "We beg your acceptance of this elegant thimble." And when it had finished this short speech, they all cheered. Alice thought the whole thing very absurd, but they all looked so grave that she did not dare to laugh. And as she could not think of anything to say, she simply bowed and took the thimble, looking as solemn as she could. Oh, doesn't Peter Pan use the thimble like it's a kiss or something? I have a kiss for you. Like, doesn't Wendy present him with the thimble? And then, no, he presents it. I get confused. So is that something on that? Who knows? I never read Peter Pan. I've seen the cartoon and the movie Hook, which I love. The next thing was to eat the comfits. This caused some noise and confusion as the large birds complained that they could not taste theirs, and the small ones choked and had to be patted on the back. However, it was over at last, and they sat down again in a ring and begged the mouse to tell them something more. I Gavolt, he's so boring with that story. Again with the mouse. You promised to tell me your history, you know, said Alice, and why it is you hate C and D, she added in a whisper, half afraid that it would be offended again. Mine is a long and sad tale, said the mouse, turning to Alice and sighing. It is a long tale, certainly. And in this instance, Alice is not saying tale, T-A-L-E, which we also know is another word for story, but she is mentioning his actual physical tail, T-A-I-L. So if you're not reading this in the book, you may not understand the play on words. Oh, and C and D, we're referring back to cat and dog. Remember when she offended him in the last chapter? If you haven't seen the last video, then you don't know. She offended him in the last chapter talking about her cat, Dinah, who she's always talking about. And then she talked about the neighbor's dog, and she offended him there because what do cats do and what do dogs do? We know. All right. It is a long tale, certainly, said Alice, looking down with wonder at the mouse's tail. But why do you call it sad? And she kept on puzzling about it while the mouse was speaking, so that her idea of the tail, T-A-L-E, was something like this. Fury said to a mouse that he met in the house, "Let us both go to law. I will prosecute you. Come, I'll take no denial. We must have a trial, for really this morning I've nothing to do." Said the mouse to the cur, "Such a trial, dear sir, with no jury or judge, would be wasting our breath. I'll be judge, I'll be jury," said cunning old Fury. "I'll try the whole cause and condemn you to death." I think Alice should have just told the friggin' story instead of the friggin' mouse in the beginning. "You are not attending," said the mouse to Alice severely. "What are you thinking of?" "I beg your pardon," said Alice very humbly. "You had got to the fifth bend, I think." "I had not," cried the mouse sharply and very angrily. "A knot?" She's saying K-N-O-T, and he said N-O-T, another play on words. "A knot?" said Alice, always ready to make herself useful and looking anxiously about her. "Oh, do let me help to undo it." "I shall do nothing of the sort," said the mouse, getting up and walking away. "You insult me by talking such nonsense." "I didn't mean it," pleaded poor Alice, "but you're so easily offended, you know." The mouse only growled in reply. "Please come back and finish your story," Alice called after it, and the others all joined in chorus. "Yes, please do." But the mouse only shook its head impatiently and walked a little quicker. "What a pity you wouldn't stay," sighed the Lory as soon as it was quite out of sight. And an old crab took the opportunity of saying to a daughter, "Ah, my dear, let this be a lesson to you, never to lose your temper." "Hold your tongue, Ma," said the young crab a little snappishly. "You're enough to try the patience of an oyster." "I wish I had our Dinah here. I know I do," said Alice aloud, addressing nobody in particular. "She'd soon fetch it back." "And who is Dinah, if I might venture to ask the question?" said the Lory. Alice replied eagerly, for she was always ready to talk about her pet. "Dinah's our cat, and she's such a capital one for catching mice. You can't think. And oh, I wish you could see her after the birds. Well, she'll eat a little bird as soon as look at it." This speech caused a remarkable sensation among the party. Some of the birds hurried off at once. One old magpie began wrapping itself up very quickly, remarking, "I really must be getting home. The night air doesn't suit my throat." And a canary called out in a trembling voice to its children, "Come away, my dears. It's high time you were all in bed." On various pretexts, they all moved off, and Alice was soon left alone. "I wish I hadn't mentioned Dinah." "Hello, that's all you do. Dinah, is there anyone finer than to be a Carolina with Dinah?" Oy, she said to herself in a melancholy tone. "Nobody seems to like her down here, and I'm sure she's the best cat in the world. Oh, my dear Dinah, I wonder if I shall ever see you any more." And here, poor Alice began to cry again, for she felt very lonely and low-spirited. In a little while, however, she again heard a little pattering of footsteps in the distance. and she looked up eagerly, half hoping that the mouse had changed his mind and was coming back to finish his story. Dun-dun-dun-dun. All right. First, Alice, you gotta shut the frig up about your cat. No one wants to hear about Dinah, and you're losing friends left and right. So once again, you're sitting there in your tears, and it's all because of freaking Dinah. So I'm over Dinah, and I haven't even met Dinah, and I've got nothing against cats. But really quickly about this chapter, what I'd like to notate is this. So the mouse had a game plan to get everybody dry. As we realized, he was going to tell them a dry story. Hello, the William Conqueror stuff, which was boring as hell. Point is, they did not get dry. But then the dodo, who for some reason we always say you're dumb as a dodo bird, which our dodo's dumb, I don't know. But the point is this. Lewis Carroll makes the dodo a little bit smarter because the dodo then comes out of the blue and is like, I know how to get us dry, and then presents the caucus race. And then they all run around and they all get dry, and then they all of a sudden need prizes. And notice how the dodo feels like everybody needs a prize, because at this point with all these little animals, you know they're all going to want something. So Alice just happened to have enough comfits except for herself. And that's how life rolls sometimes. So Alice went with the punches, took the thimble, was gracious and what have you, and kind of just went along with the punches. And the mouse got offended again and took off. I gotta say this. This chapter to me is not the most interesting chapter, but I have a feeling and I do know it's going to get better. So I know that this is just bridging us into the next chapter, and sometimes some chapters are great, and I'm glad this is a short one. Let me be honest, I'm very glad it's a short one. But with that being said, that's enough of the entertainment value. Here we're going to go off on a little bit of the spiritual woo-woo. So for those of you who might be journaling or going along and utilizing this book like myself as a tool for inspiration, I just want to say that sometimes in life, we have plans, right? The mouse had a plan and it wasn't working. Then someone swooped right in and like spontaneously came up with this idea, and obviously it worked. And everybody was pleased and went with it. Also, I want to say that the universe seems to always have your back. You know what? They needed prizes and they just trusted it was going to be there. They didn't worry. They were just like, prizes, prizes. And they looked to Alice. She suddenly stuck her hands in the pocket, and there, hello, she had enough prizes for everybody except herself. And that's something that we also have to take a look at. Like, you know what? It's also about giving in life, which is very important. But of course, the mouse was concerned about Alice and what she was going to receive. And last but not least, she had a thimble. Okay, well, it was better than nothing. And they all made a big deal about giving her a thimble. So the way I look at it is, upon her giving, she did not receive exactly what she gave, but she received something. And it seems like they were very grateful for her. And they understood that she gave them comfits, and that they wanted to present it like it was a big deal that they were giving her this thimble. So in life, I think people, you know, when we do give, we should just give without any expectations, right? And just realize that we don't always get back, and most of the time, we never get back what we give, except your attitude. All right? 99.9% of the time, if you're a jerk, you're going to meet jerky people. But if you're nice, you're mostly going to meet really nice people. So be nice. That's one thing I always say. But in terms of giving and doing things for people, you're not always going to get it back in the same way. So just give without expecting stuff and something in return, and just be gracious about it, kind of like Alice, because she really didn't expect anything. And there was something that was a little bit more, what can we say, stable than a comfit. The comfit, they eat it, they're done. She's got this thimble. I don't know why she has a thimble in her pocket, and I don't know if it ever gets addressed. So we will find that out together. So with that being said, just think about the times that the universe or whomever you believe in has provided for you, even when you didn't think you had the strength or had the know-how how things were going to be provided for, and trusted it, knowing that it's already done. Whatever you are vying for and going for, my friends, it's already there. You just have to know that you're worthy and enough to receive. I know that's the main theme here. It's all about being worthy and enough. But also it's about giving and being a nice person. And I think Alice, even though she's confronted with all these people, or animals, she is trying to be nice in her own way. But she still is sticking up for herself. And she's not being steamrolled by them. And I think that's very important too. You know what? You can be nice, but doesn't mean you have to be an idiot about it. Because you know what? I know sometimes people think kindness is mistaken for weakness. It is not. It takes a lot more to be kind than to be a jackass. So be kind. So on that note, my friends, I hope you enjoyed this week's episode of Jersey Reads the Classics, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Okay, have a great one. Stay blessed, never stress, and you know what? Go out and play. Go and do something fun. Maybe go on a swing. I love to swing. Maybe go down a slide. Well, not if you've got a bad back or anything. But you know what? Go out and play. I think it's really healthy for people to do things that you used to do when you were a kid that, of course, that you don't injure yourself. You know what I'm saying? You don't want to do something you haven't done in like 40 years. That's all I'm saying. All right, that's all I'm saying. Move along. Thanks. Peace. Have a good one. I see you. All right. Hello. Goodbye. Hello. I love you. Won't you tell me your name? Hello.